Alright, welcome back to Let's Play Eden Visual Novel. So, where we last left off, well, my only question is, will Rio ever pursue his future? That's my question. So anyway, let's continue. I washed my face with cold water to drive away the sleepiness. I saw a few whiskers popping out of my chin when I looked in the mirror and promptly shaved them away. Now, I was ready for the day. I muttered to myself, but as I was about to leave the washroom, the door opened.
おはよ
おはよう。
Maya had a bit of a long face. It didn't look like she was just drowsy.
そこ使っていい？
ああ、俺はもう終わったから。
Maya and I swapped places as she walked into the washroom.
ねえ。
ん？
本当に今日が最後なの？
I stopped in place and faced her. I stared straight at her melancholic expression.
話した通りだ。お前を連れて宇宙港まで行く。俺は密航しなきゃならんから、そこでお別れだけどな。
私なら大丈夫なんだけど。
Are you sure about that?
ここまでだって一人で来られたんだし。
状況は刻一刻と変わっているんだ。破滅は緩やかにやってくるとは限らない。むしろ加速している可能性もある。
There was also that mysterious shockwave we had to consider.
一人旅なんかしたら死ぬかもしれないぞ。
ちゃんとそれくらいは考えてるのに。
According to Maya, a senior colleague of hers was flying around the planet to capture the final state of the world on film. Apparently, that colleague would be taking the final colony ship as well, and was arranging to come meet her somewhere nearby by helicopter.
だが、近いと言っても1日2日で着く距離じゃない。
私これでも結構しっかりしてるんだよ。おじさんに習ったのは記事の書き方だけじゃないんだから。
それは分かってる。
My traps hadn't been the most sophisticated, but she made it through them unscathed. I had no problem admitting she had quite the aptitude for coping with danger.
それに、どっちみちお前だけの問題じゃないんだ。
そこがわかんないんだよね。なんでいきなりここを出る気になったわけ？それも春菜くんだけなんて。
さあな。
何よ、教えてくれないの？
悪いな。俺にもはっきり説明できないんだ。
For some reason, I didn't feel like telling her that Shion was crying. I believed that I should keep the final wish of the frail girl everyone believed to be strongest of all locked away in the depths of my heart. Besides, I doubted anyone would understand even if I told them how her tearful goodbye had shaken my heart.
そういえばマヤ。
はい？
お前、俺には一緒に行こうって言わなかったな。
シオンが宇宙に行くって言えば、春菜くんだって同行するに決まってるじゃん。だから言わなかったの。
この状況はお前が想像もしなかったパターンか。
まだ本気で信じてないよ、私は。
Maya furrowed her brows doubtfully. It had been 3 days since Shion bid me farewell. In the end, I couldn't refuse and had decided to travel with Maya. We had plans to leave tomorrow as long as nothing out of the ordinary happened again. I couldn't be sure these feelings were real. I could feel my heart wavering inside me. Where would these feelings lead me? And what was on her mind at this very moment? A heavy silence fell upon us at the breakfast table. Shion hadn't spoken much these past 3 days. Even when addressed, she was inattentive and did not respond. Maya had gotten timid and couldn't bring herself to speak anymore. The three of us did no more than eat our frugal breakfast of white rice, fried eggs, and salad. Which reminded me, Shion still couldn't make anything besides fried eggs. Yesterday and the day before, Yesterday and the day before, I made multiple trips to the nearby town and collected as much preserved food as I could find and left it for her. Food shouldn't be a problem for a while as long as she didn't mind the taste. Still, when I pictured her eating bland food all alone...
さ、春菜くん。
どうした？
なんでもない。
Maya sunk into silence, looking disheartened, and scarfed down her remaining side dishes. Shion, on the other hand, kept her chopsticks moving at her own steady pace, almost like Maya and I were invisible to her. There was plenty I had to worry about when it came to the fields too. Thinking about it logically, it would be impossible for Shion to maintain them all on her own.
それでどうするの？
シオンは畑の手入れの方法は完璧に覚えているだろ
う。頭ではでしょ？実際にやるとなったら大変だよ。
She shrugged, looking astounded. Speaking of Shion, she was off on her own digging into the dirt with a shovel. It was a part of the field that had been harvested and was currently out of the rotation, an empty plot.
できなくても山荘に食料は十分にある。どうにでもやっていけるだろう。
ちょっと聞きたいんだけどさ。
何をだ？
シオンと春菜くんの関係って一体何だったの？
I am not sure.
それはまた唐突な質問だな。
I gazed at Shion silently digging her way into the pitch-black soil. A girl I'd met while on my journey, chasing after my sister, whose circumstances were similar. To Shion, I was but a mere replacement for Elica, who should have been the one to take her away. Me, who, despite my confidence in my abilities, was nothing but a soldier in the end. She, who produced the ships which brought hope to mankind. By all rights, neither of us had any common ground to speak of.
シオンはここを人生の終着点と決めた。そう決めたのはあくまで彼女の意志であって、 俺がそれに習うことはない。
シオンを守ってきた人の言葉とは思えないよ。
それがシオンの望みだ。言っただろう。シオンの意志は曲げられないと。
Maya suddenly took a step towards me. Her fist sailed through the air like an arrow determined to find its mark on my face. I saw it coming, but my body didn't move. The heavy sound of my cheekbone being smacked sounded as though it came from someone else entirely as I stood there. Maya, on the other hand, looked like she was in pain. My cheeks slowly began to burn. Maya glared at me teary-eyed as she rubbed her fist.
私はね、好きになってたの。春菜くんとシオンは深いところで通じ合ってるみたいに見えた。二人の間の穏やかな空気が好きだった。なのに、どうしてよ。
お前が泣くようなことじゃない。
これじゃ私は二人を引き裂くために来たみたい。悔しいよ。
She wiped her tears with her injured fist and ran away. She ran towards the mountain without turning back.
悔しいか。俺もずっと悔やみながら生きてきたんだっけな。
The frustration I'd carried with me up until we fled the research facility had completely disappeared before I knew it. Gentle atmosphere, huh? I never thought I'd ever be part of such a thing.
りょう？
It felt as though it had been a very long time since I had heard her voice. At some point, Shion had tossed the shovel aside and was standing before me.
血が出てる。
She reached up and touched my mouth. Her touch was cool against my lips. She stared at her fingertips covered in my blood, as though it were some wondrous thing.
シオン。
何？
I was a little surprised she answered, but I hid my reaction and kept talking.
あそこで何を掘ってたんだ？
I looked over at the small hole she had dug with her shovel.
あれはね、私のお墓。
Her grave. It was our final dinner in preparation for our departure tomorrow. Maya wasn't at her seat. Shion went back to being silent, finished her meal mechanically, and immediately retired to her room. After I finished cleaning up, there was nothing more to do. As of this moment, I was confident it was finally over. All the preparations were in order. It might be more accurate to say there were no elaborate preparations needed in the first place. I had weapons and tools that could be useful for sneaking about the colony ship, and of course food. With that much prepared, I shouldn't have any issues.
勝負は港に着いてからだな。
I had already come up with a few ways to infiltrate the spaceport. I thought of roughly 27 tactics, but infiltration was likely possible with any one of them.
つまらないな。
I wasn't some sort of amateur who took pleasure in overcoming adversity or taking on powerful foes, but I couldn't stand boredom. I picked up the small box on the table. Maya had entrusted it to me, but what should I do with it? I hadn't even thought about it, and yet I planned to descend the mountain and head to where only boredom awaits me.
なあ、どうすればいいんだ。
I meaninglessly asked myself, when had I become so very weak?
弱くなんてありませんよ。
When I looked up,
レオくんが強いことは私が保証しますよ。
what? Oh my.
他の誰にもシオンを連れて行くことはできませんでした。守ることもできなかったと思います。
There stood a maid with a meek smile on her face.
エリカ。
はい、エリカですよ。よかった。まだ忘れられていなかったんですね。
Elica looked truly happy when she smiled.
忘れられるのが一番悲しいですからね。好きな人たちに少しでも長く自分のことを覚えておいてもらいたい。人ってそのために生きているのかもしれませんね。
死んだ後のことに期待しても本人には確かめようがないだろう。
りょうくんは相変わらず現実的ですね。
今そこにいるあんたは現実か？
Elica shouldn't be alive. She had admitted herself that she was dying, and if she were alive, she surely would have tried to make it to Shion's side by any means possible.
夢かうつつかなんてどうでもいいじゃないですか。りょうくんの中に私は生きていた。それは私にとっては嬉しいことだし、りょうくんにとってもそうじゃないのかな。
エリカにはもう一度会いたいと思っていた。
That was how I truly felt. If only Elica were here. Just how many times had I thought that since we'd broken out of the research facility?
めったに笑わないシオンを、つかみどころのない彼女をどう扱えばいいのかわからなくて、何度もエリカに聞きたいと思った。
シオンは幸せですね。
Elica said with a tender smile.
幸せ？
どう扱えばいいのか悩んだということは、それだけシオンに真剣に向き合ってくれたんでしょ。大事にしてくれたんですね。ありがとう。
本当に幸せなのか、シオンは。
If by some chance she did feel blessed,
だったらなぜ 彼女は俺を遠ざけようとするんだ。
それを知りたいと思う気持ちがりょうくんの本音ですよ。りょうくんはシオンときちんと向き合ってきました。あの子も本心を見せました。少なくともシオンが自分で本心だと信じている気持ちを。でもまだ見えてないものもあるんです。りょうくんにもシオンにも。それを確かめてくればいいんですよ。
It didn't matter if this was a dream or reality. Elica's voice and her words had certainly left an impression in my heart.
ねえりょうくん、軍を抜けてシオンとここに来て毎日一緒に過ごして、その時間に後悔はありますか？
No, I didn't have an ounce of regret.
あの時シオンと共に飛び出していなかったら、俺は姉さんを救えなかった後悔だけを抱えて死ぬためだけに生き続けただろう。
りょうくんの気持ちがはっきりしていればシオンもきっと答えてくれます。
Elica approached me with a smile on her face.
だから間違えないでね。
And then disappeared right before my eyes. When I came to, I was laying in bed. I picked myself up in a state of panic. So it was a dream.
当たり前だな。
Now that I no longer had dreams about my sister, I guess Elica was next. I tried to force a smile, then noticed I was holding something in my hand. It was that box. I remembered up to the point I had picked this up. Did I fall asleep this way? However, I remembered Elica's voice from my dream, clear as a bell. Her words most likely came from inside me. In that case, filled with indescribable anxiety, I ran into the night. The red star shining in the night sky only agitated my anxiety further. I ran and ran, just like I was chasing that star. Beneath the darkness, I at last reached the lake shimmering beneath the night sky. There she was. Her long, soft hair fluttered in the breeze which blew off the lake. She didn't turn to face me, even though she had likely noticed I was here long ago.
シオン。
Her form looked transient, like she was part of a dream. But this was reality.
シオン。
That's why I called out to her, so that I could hear what she had to say.
エリカに会ったかもしれない。
エリカ？
Shion turned around, a ghostly look on her face. The moon was so bright this evening that I could clearly see her face.
エリカはどこ？
君や俺、 それにエリカを知っている全ての人の中にいる。それと
I took that little box out of my pocket.
何？
マヤが持ってきてくれた。これは多分君が持っているべきだと思う。
She tilted her head and accepted the tiny container. She took one look at my face, then slowly opened the lid.
これは。
ああ。
Shion could probably tell at a glance. Stored in the box was a silky lock of hair.
姉さん。
I could tell. When Shion tried to touch Elica's hair, her hand was trembling ever so slightly.
やっぱりエリカは死んだの。
An almost mute whisper escaped her lips. She had maintained her composure even when she was face to face with Elica as she lay, dying, and yet, here, Shion looked so small, fragile, and vulnerable.
分かっていたけど、でも
シオン、君はどこかで悲しみをごまかそうとしてる。本当に悲しいことが何なのか考えないようにしているだろ
う。え
？She snapped her head up.
君はずっと誰にも負けられなかった。弱さを見せることはできなかった。だけどもう君が強いままでいる必要はどこにもない。
私、何もごまかしてなんかない。自分を偽る必要なんてどこにもない。
エリカは君を置いて行ってしまった。
It seemed even Maya hadn't heard much in regards to Elica. All she knew was the Major had arranged Elica's burial before he was arrested, and that he had left the lock of Elica's hair in Lavi's care. Oh, it rhymes. Hair in Lavi's care. Those details would probably be meaningless to Shion. All that was important was that the proof of Elica's death was right here in front of her.
だけど俺はどこにも行かない。君を一人にはさせない。誰もいない寂しい世界に君だけ置いていけるものか。
また同じ話を繰り返すの？
君がどうしても俺を行かせたいと言うなら、シオンを一人にするくらいなら。今ここで俺が幕を引いてやる。
りょう。
There were several meters between me and her. Shion had to have known there was no way I could... Shion had to have known there was no way I would miss at this range.
これで全てが終わる。君が苦しむこともない。
私を撃って、次にその銃口をどこに向けるの？
どこかな。
亮は大婚約者。
Shion declared in a decisive tone.
脅しをかけるなら、もう少しリハーサルを入念にやるべきだった。そんな悲しみに曇った目で何を撃てるの？何十発撃ったところで、今のあなたには一つの命も消せない。
冗談だ。
I lowered the gun and grinned.
だが、シオンを残していくという選択肢は俺にはない。それだけが事実だ。
それはあなただけの事実。私が望むこととは違う。
もう迷うことはない。自分のやるべきことが今度こそ見えたから。
亮？
Shion gently took hold of that lock of hair as her eyes went wide with wonder.
ここに残るということは自殺するのと同じ。分かってるの？
世界の終わりなんていう曖昧でわけのわからないことはどうでもいいんだ。
その曖昧でわけのわからないことから逃れるために100年ほど仕事してきたの、私。
俺にはもうどうでもいいことなんだ。
本気なの？亮。
もう何も失いたくない。
私を失ったところで何がどうなるわけでもない。このままここにいればあなたは間違いなく全てを失う。
違う。まだ君はここにいる。君が俺を死なせたくないと言ってくれたように、俺も残されたシオンとの時間を失いたくないんだ。
I reached out and embraced Shion's slender body. Her touch was warm and soft. I could feel firsthand that she was definitely alive. The time I spent with her, that serene setting, was more important to me than anything else.
今確かにここにいる君を一人きりにはできない。もう決して君を悲しませない。
同情はいらない。
同情だと思うのか？
思わない。
Her body rocked in my arms. It looked like she intended to shake her head.
亮は同情なんてしない。そんな生優しい人じゃない。本当に私を必要だと思っているの？
今度こそやっと見つけた。君のそばが俺の本当の居場所だ。俺が本当に守りたいと思うもの。
My tempered body and heart were all for Shion. For this girl who had been imprisoned for so very long and finally obtained freedom for this girl who was still so very lonely. We were similar in a way.
私はずっとここにいる。エリカが眠るこの星で私も眠りたい。
It was as though her big, beautiful eyes stared straight into my heart. But I didn't look away. I wanted her to see everything.
私が眠るまであなたにそばにいてもらいたい。
The breeze made tiny waves across the water's surface and rocked the lakeside vegetation. The only things to disturb the stillness was that sound of the wind and her faintly audible breathing. I wanted to be here. I want her to be here. A longing desire for Shion, not as someone's replacement, but for Shion alone, burned within me.
りょう、やっぱり私一人じゃダメ。
ああ。
一人じゃ自分のお墓だって作れない。
Apparently, the soil in the field had gotten so soft she thought she could dig it herself. She had wanted her grave ready before she died, though it's not like she would have been able to fill it on her own.
りょう、私が死んだらその後は。
ああ。
約束。
ああ、約束だ。
As I hugged her tightly, I silently made a wish. Please let her live as long as possible. I'll end it here for now. So let's see if we'll continue the few remaining part of the game. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.